Well, so you guys have both been through sort of major acquisitions and mergers. What was maybe the biggest surprise to you when you had completed the transaction and now it was time to sort of integrate or grow or realize customer synergies? What was maybe the biggest surprise that?
I didn't get to take a vacation.
That was a
That was
surprise?
the biggest one for like a year.
I think for us, I think the biggest surprise is how easy it is for you to lose sight of the big picture of why you did the deal. So, very often you get caught up in, how do you integrate these two products, or who's going to lead this, or what should be our positioning be, or in our case, what should our name be? And so, not that we spend a whole lot of time on that, but I think that very often when you put people in a room, you focus in on a lot of the internal stuff as opposed to the external things of, hey, the reason why we did this deal is because this was going to be good for the customers. And fortunately, we had a leadership team that was good at reminding ourselves of that. But I think even going into it, knowing that was important, it was a big surprise to me how much we had to constantly remind ourselves to focus on the key important things as opposed to some of the easy things to distract us.
Yeah, I think JT's right on that. I think you need to start being through a few of these. You need to start with the assumption that mergers don't work, that they almost never work, and only if you keep that in mind will everybody be very focused on preventing what happens almost every single time. And I think the key is, number one, fewer things. And that starts in the diligence process, because if you have a list of 200 things that have synergy value, you're going to try to execute 200 things that frankly the people that did it don't have tons of insight into. Synergy value needs to come down to 3-4 things, and you need to focus on those, and you need to get middle management involved during the diligence process. The thing that I'm most surprised by is that to this day, I'm always surprised that people don't realize that employee satisfaction, efficiency, and customer sat go together. If you have pissed off employees, everything else falls down.
Correct.
And there is not, in the deals that I see, and deals I've done in the past, I think this last one we did a great job with it, but deals I've done in the past, and ones I see, is there's not enough focus on moving quickly and decisiveness to give employees comfort.
Interesting. And so if employees are the quintessential element of any transaction, what specifically would you think of spending more time on? Would it be messaging to those people that what the future is going to look like? Would it be integrating them into the process? Would it be asking them to actually be the root of sort of developing parts of those synergistic opportunities? I mean,
yeah, I think it's all three of those things, and I think the real challenge is look, if you're doing a small tuck-in acquisition, it's one thing. It's very easy. They've got one office. They've got one team. You can go have a conversation with them. In our case, we had 8 offices around the world that we were dealing with and 1,000 people. And so you can't just pop in and shake a few hands and think you've actually had a meaningful conversation with folks. So I think the challenge is, you want to move quickly, but you also want to make sure you make smart decisions. And I think from the outset, taking a sort of vow of as much transparency and over-communication as possible is good. I think you can try to look, if you're doing the deal for the right reasons, meaning it's ultimately going to be good for the customers, it's going to be good for your shareholders, and ultimately good for the employees. As long as you communicate why you're doing it, there are going to be plenty of people who think you're full of crap and you're out to screw them in some way, shape, or form. But as long as you communicate that, answer tough questions, and continue to communicate that, and I think the sort of one thing that I learned in this process was, even though you've given the same line and the same spiel 500 times with the customers, in our case, the Department of Justice, to employees, you can't give it too many times because there's always a new audience. There's always someone else who hasn't heard the full thing. And so continuing to deliver that and doing that so people know why you're doing it, and then can make the decisions based on that full information.